Welcome back to Beanie Composter. This is part 2 of keeping your hot bin hot, and in the last video when I watched it back there's a massive humming coming through the video, so apologies for that. It's just the roar of the traffic from the A3. Although the A3 is not close to us, it just seems to always come out on the camera, so apologies for that. But have a look, we're Saturday morning now, so the last time I put waste in was Thursday morning. So have a look what's happening at the moment. The dial on the top, although it's risen up, it's not actually in the green. So you could, if you're just checking this outside thermometer, you could be mistaken for thinking that you haven't got your hot bin hot composting yet. But if we have a look inside, look at all that water coming down, and although you can't see any steam coming out, the actual temperature on this mini probe is, if we can see that, I'll lift it out quickly before it drops, but we're showing there, we were like, almost 60 degrees in there. So really great news. I'll shut the lid so we don't lose too much heat. So within 4 days we got the mini hot bin hot composting just over 40 degrees, and a couple of days later we're up to 60 degrees. So that means now we can start putting whatever we like into it. So bones, perennial weeds, all that stuff that we couldn't put in while we were starting it up. So now is the time where you need to start, make sure you're feeding it either every other day or at least one of those food caddies once a week. So I'm going to show you what we're putting into ours for the next couple of weeks, and how we keep the heat maintained. As I just said, we need to put in one of these 5 litre caddies once a week minimum, but I'm going to be putting it waste in at least every other day if I can, but if not, then it's going to be every 2 to 3 days. But as I'm saying in this video, we're going to show you exactly everything I'm putting in, when I'm putting it in, and this is giving you a guide of how we're doing it. In this bucket here, I've got some of the hedge trimmings, some of the garden waste, like the petunias, a bit more of that's, trimmings from there, and also a little bit of the rose bush. And I'm gonna start adding some eggshells. And in this one, we've got some apple trimmings where the missus made a lovely Polish apple pie crumble thing. And we've got like cooked broccoli, so now we're starting to put in some cooked food because it can take it, we're at the temperature. And I'm not going to add the whole of this contents because I need to top up the lot, its bigger brother, so I'm just going to add half of that. So as you can see, potato peelings again, we got some carrot peelings, and bread, bits where the little ones just left bits on the side and not eating it. And we've got banana and some satsuma tangerine peelings. So just normal kitchen caddy waste. Make sure it is all cut up small because that really helps aid your heat and helps it break down quicker, and when you come to take out your compost, the results are going to be much better if you can cut it up small. So with this, we need to add in more paper and more bulking agent. Although you may think what I did looked quite dry, and yes, it does look dry, but as you can see, the temperatures come up. We don't need to worry about it going anaerobic, so keep it dry. Make sure you put in plenty of bulking agent and also plenty of paper, cardboard, egg boxes to counteract that moisture. So don't make the dreaded mistake of pouring your waste in without taking your thermometer out, because you might not find it again until you actually empty your hot bin. So take that out, nice and hot. I can feel the heat in there. We're putting the waste in, and then on top of that I'm just going to add in a couple of handfuls of paper. Oh, 3 handfuls for now. And then I'm going to add in another handful of bulking agent, and I'm just going to give that a mix through. You can see some steam hopefully coming out of that, so you can see we're nice and hot. So just give that a nice little mix through. Don't have to go crazy with it, but make sure that's just all mixed through. Put your thermometer back in the center, and then make sure all your seals are nice and clean. You don't want anything there like a bit of bulking agent that when you push it all down, it's either going to prevent it from sitting down properly. Shut the lid, and that's it for if you're going to feed it every other day, that's it. You can have a rest tomorrow. Okay guys, the missus is moaning because I've still got the top on with the old spaghetti bolognese down it, but we are composting at the end of the day. So we're 7 days after we started up the Mini now, and if you want to have a look at where we're at, so plenty of water running down the top there, there's steam coming out, and with the small thermometer, I don't know if you can actually see that, but we're at the 60, just over 60 degrees there, although it was when I took it out, but the missus isn't quick enough to film it. But you can see visibly steam is coming out, so we're proper hot composting now. So now we've got the Mini up to hot composting temperatures, we can start putting meat bones in. So I've got some, I think it's couch grass that I've just pulled out while I was in the garden today, and we've got meat bones. The missus done a lovely chicken soup, or jurak I think it's called, with sausages and that in, but very nice. So we've got carcass of chicken there, we've got some apple trimmings, potato, you name it, it's in there, apart from the kitchen sink. But yeah, potatoes, chicken, bananas, I always cut them up just sort of roughly, just to give them a good start. Doesn't have to be measured or perfect, but it's always good to give them a sort of trim up. Egg, we're just crushing up, and once your Mini is up to temperature, one of these caddies can go in every other day, but as I said in the first video, you need to be putting in one of these per week to keep it up to temperature, but I would recommend you need more than that. So we're going to try and go with one every other day, or one every other couple of days. You might have read that with every 5-litre kitchen caddy of waste, garden waste, kitchen waste, then you need to add in half a kitchen caddy's worth of shredded paper or torn cardboard. But because we've got the chicken in there, and we've got potatoes, carrots and apples which are quite wet, I'm going to add in more paper than they actually suggest. So I'm going to go with, I've got half of this fill up with torn cardboard, and I'm going to add in a couple of handfuls of shredded paper as well. And I'm also going to add in a good handful of bulking agent with this. So a good handful of bulking agent as well. I'm going to go for 2. And I don't know if it's coming out on camera or whether you can see it, but we've got a few maggots in this hot bin at the moment that are actually alive and crawling up, you know, the sides. So hopefully that's nothing to be too concerned about, and we are hot composting now, so I would expect them to soon be steamed away as we're rising up. So if you can come in and show them. So a few maggots which have, you know, come up only sort of a fingernail size, but still not. If you're starting up your hot bin, you might be a little bit concerned or not very happy to see them. And I haven't put any cooked food in there until today, so it shouldn't, you know, I wouldn't worry about it. That's all I'm saying. Just get your loose waste in there, give it a good old stir up, and they will steam away soon. So a nice stir up, thermometer back in, and as I always say, just make sure everything's nice and clean around the sill before you put the lid back down. We're back in the kitchen. It's started to rain outside and it's freezing cold now, so the missus doesn't really want to be filming outside, and I can't blame her. But we're on about, I think, the 3rd or 4th feed of the mini hot bin now, and when I've opened it up tonight, I've noticed a lot of water's sort of streaming down the door, and when I've touched the actual waste, it's quite damp. So for that reason, you've seen what I've been putting in it. We've got like carrot stuff and potatoes peelings, which were probably quite moist. So now, with me noticing that, I'm putting in another 5 litre caddy worth of kitchen waste, and also the rose trimmings and a bit of the hedge trimmings. Got the hedge trimmings and a bit of the rose trimmings, and we've got quite a bit of, you know, apple peelings where the missus made a lovely cake again. We've got some mandarin peelings, chicken bones, some parsley stalks, and a bit of carrot peelings. Like I say, the waste that's in the hot bin seems to be quite wet, so for that reason I'm going to add in, you know, a lot more paper this time than the hot bin recommend, just because I don't want it to go wet and anaerobic. So, you know, I'm putting 4 good handfuls of shredded paper in this time. I'm going to be putting a good handful full of bulking agent as well, and you know, it's the same procedure as normal. I'm going to take the thermometer out, give it a good old stir up, tip this in and give that a good stir through, thermometer back in and door back shut. And at the moment the hot bin temperature is showing just under 60 degrees, so we're still doing well with it. 2 days ago I put the last lot of waste into the hot bin, and when I checked this morning the temperature's actually dropped, and so has the compost, so we've gone lower than that hatch door level that we need to be at. So maybe that's why it's dropped, but it could also be that the temperature on the mercury has dropped as well, so we're getting colder in the evenings and mornings. I'm going to add in more waste this time than the 5 litre recommended every other day, just because I want to try and get it above that hatch thing. I'm going to have to take the handcuffs off Mrs. Beanie, because we're struggling to get garden waste and, you know, vegetable trimmings and that. I didn't bring anything back from work this time, so I'm real struggling at the moment. In this bucket here I've got the garden, you know, trimmings, the rose bush and hedge trimmings, so not very easily digestible for the hot bin. but I've got a couple of chicken bones that they've used today for dinner, just because we're still at 40 just about, so that should be okay to put in. Some of the windfall apples I've cut up and put in there, and just some kitchen caddy waste, you know, peelings, eggshells, things like that. So, but like I say, not a lot of waste at the moment, apart from the, you know, real dry stuff that isn't going to be easily digestible. So I'm just going to put this in at the moment with some paper and bulking agent. We will show you the temperature. It is pitch black outside, so it's not so easy to film, but it's a good guide for you to see where we are at and how things are going. So inside we're just at 40, but as you can see from here, we've dropped down quite a lot, so we've come below that line for the hatch that you need to be above. So that's why I'm adding a lot more today. I'm going to give it a good stir up just to get some air into it, because as I've said, when I've opened it up, there's been a lot of water coming down the door, and I really feel like, you know, it smells not great. Despite all the paper that I put in there, I just want to give that a real good stir up before I put the next lot of waste on. There is heat in there, you can feel the steam coming out. As I said, I've got quite a bit of paper. I filled the bucket right up to the top with paper. So, and I'm going to add in a couple of handfuls of bulking agent. So if you have a look in there, we've come above that, you know, the hatch door. So the maggots that were alive, they've been sort of steamed over that last day or two. They're not moving anymore. I just push them down to the actual waste if you do find those. And then we've got a couple of worms starting to come out, which will show you that your temperature is getting warm. In there, you know, because I've put the new waste in, we're only down to, I think, 25 it says, but, or just maybe 20, 25, but that will get hot, and I don't really want to be leaving the lid open for too long, so we'll shut that. But we don't need the kickstart bottle. Big brother next door, that had dropped a little bit, but I've been putting some waste in every other day, as with the Mini, and we've come up to temperature back in the green with this one, so we're doing okay with that. But maybe at the weekend I'd like to, if I can, just empty it just to get a bit more extra airflow going through to it. But we're still hot composting in this one, so that's great news. All good. All in all, we fed the hot bin 2 days ago, and if you have a look at the temperature, we're borderline on the green. So I came out this morning and checked it, and I noticed where the aeration valve is, some leachate is coming out. Now it's quite difficult at the moment with the, you know, daylight hours, that when I get home from work and go to work, you don't really get to see what's going on. But at the weekend I saw this and I thought, I'm going to show you guys how much leachate is coming out. So I'm wondering if this is the reason why the temperature isn't staying hot. So quite a lot has come out of that, and the missus has got some eggs boiling for breakfast. I've just dragged her out quickly, so apologies to her for that. And yeah, these videos at the moment are quite difficult to film with the way things are with the daylight hours and that, so give us a thumbs up and a subscription, because definitely worth it. So we've taken all that leachate out, and I'm gonna just see if that makes any difference with the temperature. I will be putting some more in later. We will film that, and we'll see what happens over the weekend if the temperature does come up a lot. But as you can see, 2 weeks worth of compost, we've actually taken quite a lot of leachate out. So let's see if this helps. Yesterday you saw me empty the leachate out of the Mini, and we had ended up with just over a pint's worth, so quite a lot within 2 weeks worth of composting. And if you followed part 1, you would have seen we got this Mini up to, you know, hot composting within 4 days. And then since that, I've been feeding it pretty much every other, if not every couple of days. So putting in more than the hot bin company recommend. But for some reason, I mean, the temperature isn't, you know, warm now. We're at about 9 degrees, so we're not even in double figures. But the Mini's gone. If you have a look inside, we've gone pretty much cold. So we're not even, you know, at 40 degrees there, and I'm, like I say, I've been adding what the hot bin would recommend, more than one of those 5 litre caddies per week, and that's supposed to keep your hot composter hot. But as you can see from our one, that's not the case. So you can really see why, you know, people on this channel, or not even, you know, following this channel, get so frustrated. Even the legend like me, well, not really a legend, but even I'm finding it a bit frustrating, really. I mean, it's not the best time of the year, November. It's dark, so it's not easy to keep coming out and checking things and keeping it topped up. But I am putting what the hot bin company would say is sufficient waste to keep that hot, and it's not even staying hot. But I have faith, and I'm sure we will get this back hot again. It just means we need to add in a little bit more waste, and I'm gonna check, because we had quite a lot of that leachate come out, and when it was hot composting, the amount of water that was, you know, draining from the lid was quite something. And for me, it's like, you shouldn't be getting that amount of water with the waste I was putting in, because what I was putting in was quite dry, with just the odd bit of vegetable peelings. But we got it hot, but there was an awful lot of water coming from that lid. A few people on this channel have been asking me about the external dial, and if you look at ours here, we're only on 10 degrees, and like I say, outside temperature is about 9, and our waste is, you know, just above the hatch door, so quite low. So therefore this dial is really irrelevant, so don't take much notice of that. And inside the small dial, I really find it a bit frustrating. I just think it is too, the probe bit is too small. You know, I prefer the longer one, so, you know, I'm finding that a little bit frustrating with the Mini, that the dial thing just isn't, you know, it just isn't big enough for me. But anyway, we're gonna try and get this Mini from sickness back to health. So I've got a few things from the garden, some brambles, weeds, veg peelings, and the usual suspect of the rose and the hedge trimmings, which will act as a little bit of bulking agent. It won't give out any digestible stuff. But let's see what's going on in here. I'm going to give it a good old stir up and see if we've got any heat coming out. So steam is there, we've still got some heat at the bottom. I'm trying to get right down because I can feel where it's sort of compressing down. There's a few gaps there, so I'm just trying to get some air flowing in there, check how we're going. If it's coming out on camera, there's steam coming out, so that's a good sign. We are still warm. So any clumps like that, I'm just checking for that have just, you know, maybe restricting the airflow a bit. And then we're going to go with all of that. A good stir through, and I'm going to add in some bulking agent. So another handful of bulking agent. So I've put in some bulking agent and about 3 good handfuls of shredded paper. Going to give that a good old mix up as well now. And because we're just about at the hatch again, I'm going to this time put in another bucket. So more kitchen scraps, a few weeds, some apples, bits and pieces like that. So in again, good mix up, some more paper. Bloody stuff's going everywhere. Oh man. A good handful of bulking agent. I'm going to give that a mix in. And if you look where we are now, we're above the hatch door again. You know, quite a little bit above the hatch door now, so really that should be getting up to temperature quite quickly now. So I've added in more than the hot bin would suggest. I just wanted to get that waste right up, and we're going to see what happens with that. We've emptied the leachate, and you know, everything's topped up, so there's no reason really why that shouldn't come up to temperature now. So as I've said, you can see why people get so frustrated with this thing, because it's not a plug and go, and it doesn't just, you know, you follow the instructions, it doesn't always work. You can get it hot composting, but it can suddenly just drop right down again for no one's, you know, not your own reason, even if you're following the instructions. So let's see what happens with this. We'll probably do a part 3, and I'll start adding, with film us adding more waste into this. So with the Mini, everything we're adding into this we're filming, so that's quite awkward this time of the year, but I'm hoping that it does help some of you out. And I think this episode here of part 2 has shown that it can go wrong for me, it can go wrong for you and anyone else, but stay positive, keep on going, and in part 2 let's hopefully get this back up to temperature again. Thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe if you already haven't, and until next time, keep your chin up, keep composting, and enjoy.